Well, I'm still down to answer any questions, so let's boom. Anybody got questions or comments? Anything you want to say? Matter of fact, before we start that, these are my pictures up here, and I'm selling them, but I brought 122 prints to give away for free. So make sure, I don't know where they went, here they are. Make sure that you guys pass them around. Remember in elementary school when you show and tell, you pass things around? Just start from here and pass them around. I know you guys got some, take more. So just pass them around because there's more than 120 pictures.
I got mine.
So I just want to say it's a pleasure to finally see your stuff in physical form because, you know, I've been looking at it, you know, on the computer for so long. You know, I interviewed you. I used to digitize your film. But you talk to so many people and people that have been through a lot of adversity in their life. What do you plan to do with that wisdom that you learned, or what do you do currently with that wisdom?
Yo, that's Gal from Bellport. He used to scam my film, man, at CBS. Until I learned that CBS. But anyway, what I feel is like the same thing I'm doing now. I mean, these people right here that you've seen in this film, they don't have a Facebook, a Tumblr. Many times I say, let me email you the picture. They don't have the email address. You know what I mean? So I feel like their voice, they're not really in the current technology that everybody else is in with Twitter and Facebook and stuff. So to make the film and to allow that word from them to be, you know, displayed to the world was amazing. And, you know, there'll be more of that, definitely. I don't know if I'm going to do a sequel, but I will say I have hours of footage and audio from them that I could do something else with, you know what I mean?
Hey, so I have a question for you. In the event of like these images and the film kind of catching traction, let's say hypothetically you did become a millionaire. I heard it said in the film. Millionaire, or just even getting like a serious steady paycheck, would you consider reimbursing all of the people in the film?
No, I've had the vision for the longest. What I'm basically going to start doing is selling prints. You know what I mean? I haven't sold prints, but I'm going to start selling prints. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get them to sign it. I don't fuck me sign it.
Yeah.
I'm going to have them sign it. You know what I mean? And when I see them, bless them. A lot of the people, I bless them anyway. You don't really hear that in the film. The brother asked me for $5 or whatever. I'm
no,
like,
I
yo, you gotta go inside of you.
Or getting someone like a Dutch or whatever.
I get them whatever, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, the best form of charity is offering someone a different perspective on themselves. You know what I mean? If you could look at a person that hasn't been photographed in 10 years and offer them a beautiful perspective on themselves and show them, I've had people look at my pictures like, yo, that's me. That's me. Like, you know what I'm saying? I look beautiful. You know what I'm saying? And they don't feel beautiful. They see the picture and they look beautiful. So, to me, that's the greatest form of charity, man. Money will pass away. Money is an illusion. That's actually what I'm talking about. And this is the picture that I'm referring to. Because this girl, her name is Sapphire.
You know why? Because it's lighting.
Yes.
Lighting is key.
It's all about light, man. You know what I mean?
No.
I'm sorry. Peace.
I love the style that I never seen in a documentary. At first, it almost irked me. You know what I'm saying? That I didn't hear it coming from their mouth, and I was irked for a moment, and then I let it go. And I thought that was a beautiful, just different. I never seen that before, and it was dope. How since you're a photographer, a lot of it was like framed like photography. I love how they were posing for mad long.
Yes. Most people were bugging because they
know what I'm saying?
Video.
Because you were shooting with the camera, so they think it's a camera.
Okay.
But
they know me as a photographer. I come through with a book of prints as you see in the film, and they page through the prints. So when I was shooting HD video for film niggas, they thought I was taking a picture.
Yeah. So that was dope. That was actually really dope. How they were posing for mad long because they thought you were taking a picture.
Yes.
That worked so dope.
Yes.
But my question is, I just have a question.
Okay, go ahead. Hit that.
How did the cops react to you? And how did they react, and how did you get shots of them? Like, you know, were you actually up close when you were taking the shots of them?
Yo, basically,
was that on the sneak?
Love is the key to everything.
Yeah, word.
You feel me? These cops, during the summer, this summer 2014, Eric Garner. Listen, countless people, man, got fucked up by the police, but when I come to them, I step to them respectfully and I say, officers, I'm trying to build good community relations. may I please take a portrait of you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? May I please photograph you? So on and so forth.
Yeah.
Give me your email address. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
And I do that. And I always fulfill my word. If I say I'm going to send them the picture, I do. Next time they see me, like, oh, thanks for that picture.
Yeah.
They introduce me to the other officers.
Yeah, so you got built relationship.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So,
So-
you know, it's also an element of forgiveness too. You know what I mean? If I hated police, you know what I mean, I wouldn't be able to do that because my own disposition wouldn't allow me to do that. I would hate them too much to want to approach them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm beyond doing candid shots now. I used to walk around with the Yashica T4, you know what I mean, and just
Yeah.
snapshots from the waist and so on.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. That's a beautiful form of photography. But I'm looking for intimate, candid shots if
Yeah.
that's possible.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
I'm walking that line of intimacy where the person knows they're being photographed.
Yeah.
Yet at the same time, it's so real, it's still candid.
Yeah, I think you really captured that well. Good job,
Thank you,
brother.
brother. Hold on. Oh, it was you next, right? It was you next.
No.
Go ahead,
Okay,
sister.
well, I was just, you captured like the mood and the essence of like Harlem really well, I thought. When you were filming this, did you have like a vision of like this whole film already? Like, I thought
No.
it was interesting how you edited the film and then out of sync audio at the same time. Like, I just wanted to pick your brain, like why you thought of editing it that way.
Technically, I mean, my photography is stark, you know what I mean? It's heavy contrast. I'm shooting 160 ISO film at night. It's film stock nobody would shoot at night, but that creates a heavy contrast, you know what I mean? And I didn't have a vision of what the film was gonna be. I didn't even know it was gonna be called Field Niggas till it was done. You know what I mean? When I create, I allow God to shine through me. You know what I mean? God has become an unpopular word in the world, and you know it begins with a lot of fear in people's minds, and oh, that doesn't exist, and so on and so forth. But I still understand that God shines through me. In fact, I am that. You know what I mean? I am that energy in my real state. So therefore, when I create a project like this, you know, I'll just ask for that guidance and that insight. I don't worry about it. In fact, the film before this that I made was comic. I shot it in Jamaica. It was 15 minutes. I didn't know this was going to be an hour, you know what I mean? But that goes to me basically just allowing it to be what it's going to be. I don't dictate anything. I'm just a vehicle, you know what I mean? So I hope I answered that. Peace, brother.
So peace. Field Niggas.
Yes.
When I heard the name, I automatically referred to myself to Malcolm. Like
Yes,
Field
yes,
something
yes.
super powerful, something like, and I was expecting something totally different. I see what you're trying to bring out, but I feel like, did you think maybe you could show another aspect? Because we see so much of us represented like that. The drug addict, the homeless, and so on and so forth. So you think we could have went the other direction and represent the a different aspect of that?
The minute you judge reality, reality is gone. The moment you judge it, it's gone because you already projected your own judgment onto it. Perception means per one set to see, so it's how one sees. So that always implies judgment. You feel me? So yeah, it's called field niggas, but these are kings. You feel me? These are kings and queens, so it doesn't matter what you put us through, what you put anybody through, you're still gonna be what you are. Knowledge never changes. Perception always changes. You feel me? I'm shooting these people from low angles, getting them looking like, you know what I mean? Like kings. Still, even though they may be shooting up or sniffing something or, you know what I mean, smoking crack or whatever, taking K2. So, listen, the field niggas don't really get a turn to talk anyway. That relates to his earlier question, you know what I mean? So, I basically gave them the opportunity to say what they wanted to say. I titled the film Field Niggas because that's the masses. You know what I mean? That's the masses of black people still. And it has nothing to do with race. You know what I mean? Field niggas is white. Field niggas is women. Field niggas is all races, G. And that's what this is, man. So, peace.
What was the first shot, the first image, or the first impetus where you realized, I got something, where you realized, I can run with this, I need to do more of this? What was that moment, what was that picture where you realized, even if you didn't have a clear concept of where you were going to go with it, where you realized, I just have to follow this somewhere, wherever it goes?
Yo, I started, man. Listen, man. I did a film in 2010 that came out called Probable 5% Story. You know, I did work with Wu-Tang, and that was the crescendo of my work with the Wu-Tang. You know what I'm saying? Probable 5% Story. It took me 4 years. Afterwards, I was tired of making films. So I was like, yo, how can I create, yet do it quickly? And that's when I asked my brother, the Jizzle was coming out to my house, and I said, yo, can I borrow your camera? I asked my brother, can I borrow your camera to take pictures of the Jizzle? It was like, nah, I don't let shit like that. I don't let people borrow shit like that. So I'm like, yo, I'm your brother. I asked my pops, who used to have take pictures on Christmas and stuff, and he gave me a Canon 8E1 manual, fully mechanical camera that required film. And when I got that camera, that was what propelled me to becoming a photographer. Later on, I went, I shot jizz and everything. I didn't know you weren't supposed to open up the back of the film camera. So all of the film was lost. I took like 20 pictures, all of them were gone. But I didn't know that at the time. I went and I thanked my brother. I said, yo, I thought you were being selfish, but that was a blessing. Thank you for being, what I consider selfish, because that made me a photographer. From that very night, I knew it was on. From that very night, I knew it was on. But what I started doing is going around the Lower East Side, taking pictures of people, trying to stop people taking pictures, and they were fronting on me. They were like, one girl was like, hell no. But when I went up into Harlem, I was like, damn, people are showing me love in Harlem. But I wasn't shooting at night at that time. I was just shooting during the daytime. But after a while, I was hanging out too long. It was 10 at night, and I'm shooting at night, and I'm like, damn, I'm looking at the negatives. I'm like, yo, this is good shit. Let me just shoot at night. So since that time, which was 2012, all I've shot is exclusively at nighttime. You know what I mean? And that's really the evolution of it. You know what I mean? Peace.
Regardless of like all the love that you felt and like stuff in Harlem, like, did you ever once feel threatened for yourself or for your for your camera?
Listen, nothing real can be threatened. You know what I mean? And when you identify with the real part of yourself, which is beyond the physical form, which is spiritual, then you understand that there's nothing to fear. You know what I mean? Fear is an illusion. You know what I mean? It's really an ego device to anchor you to the planet, you know what I mean, and to prevent you from ascending to the higher spiritual dimensions, you know what I mean? So fear is something we all have to overcome, you know what I mean? There's been a few instances in which, you know what I mean, I could have gotten fucked up or whatever, but the thing is, never have defenses. My safety lies in my defenselessness. If I prepare defenses, I'm gonna be attacked. You feel me? Because I already prepared defenses in order to handle that attack. If I don't prepare those defenses and I only focus on love, I'm only going to get love in return. You know what I mean? Love is real. There's only two emotions, love and fear. You know what I mean? Those are the only two emotions. One is real, one is unreal. So you got to choose what you're going to identify with. You're going to identify with love, which is the reality. You're going to identify with fear. It's easy to identify with fear because the news be bold. Fuck out of here, man. You can't touch me. Right. You know what I'm saying? All of these crazy shit you see on the news, they want you to identify with that in order to keep you in the circle of birth and death. You feel me? But this planet isn't really our home anyway. You know what I mean? We exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. You know what I mean? I'm just projecting myself through the physical form here. You know what I mean? That's all that is. So I'm going too far with it. Peace.
I really appreciated one that the buildings that that participated also identified themselves in their own humbleness with any words that they said. It was all wisdom.
Yes.
And most people walk through the streets and look at each other as if they have a complex, but really it's a God complex that they have within themselves.
Yes.
That they can't handle what's going on right now, so they're trying to medicate themselves to feel better.
Right.
But even so, they have a lot of time to think. And as we're out here, we're thinking. We're thinking what's going on around us. We're thinking how it's affecting each other. We're trying to hide it from ourselves. It was one line that one of the, it was, I don't know if it was a sister or a brother, but it was a brother. He said, these shoes I'm selling you right now, they don't even know it. They're Frenchies.
That's me telling him. That was me saying that to him.
Okay. And I mean, I associated with that as the first Frenchies as far as the Haitian people that were always in resistance, that were the first ones to free themselves, and then associated that with still niggas being in resistance still. You know, this is the first time that their voices, that I've seen their voices heard, you know what I mean? But it's still in resistance. They understand what's going on, they're out here in the streets and they're resisting.
Frenchie is actually a Haitian brother. Frenchie, alright, when I focused in on this one corner, 125th and Lexington Avenue, that was one corner that I chose to focus in on. Basically, that's my denominator. The numerator could change, that's the people, and that will change. But Frenchie was the common denominator, and actually 125th, but he was the first person. When you look at my photography on my Tumblr page and on my, Facebook and stuff, I shot him the most out of anybody else. Right now, he's in Bellevue Hospital. You know what I mean? But one day, he had a pair of shoes and he was complaining that they were too tight. So I'm like, yo, let's go to my car, because I got a pair of skateboarding shoes that I keep in the trunk when I'm getting ready to skateboard, you know what I mean? Nike SBs. And I knew that they were like bigger than his shoes, so I'm like, let me give him my shoes. So we go into my trunk, I gave him the shoes, but I said, let me have yours. I plan on putting them in glass and putting them in my house when I have my own house one day, having Frenchie shoes in a glass jar as a work of art on its own, you know what I mean? Even though they were fucking top and piston, I didn't care. You know what I mean? But when the brother needed a pair of shoes in the film, I'm like, yo, fuck the glass jar here. You know what I mean? And they was too small. They were 8.5, so that's why French was complaining in the first place, because they were too small for him.
Think of the metaphor. These are your shoes, the life that you're walking in right now.
Yes.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
What do you feel like you learned from your podcast?
Yo, I learned that I could be myself and still fucking just do my thing. You know what I mean? When you come into the art world and so on and so forth, I don't even know what that means. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Listen, I grew up as a kid that would purposely piss to the side of the urinal in school. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Purposely, you know what I'm saying? I used to carry a pilot marker and tag my name and all of that in the bathroom in school, just as a little rebel, you know what I'm saying? So, I never thought that I would survive today. I'm 29 now, you feel me? When I was 13 years old, I got left back in school. And I thought to myself, damn, by the age of 30, I just thought 30, I was like, by 30 I'll be dead. Now I'm fucking 29 and I'm talking about field niggas. So, you know what I mean? I could be myself and anybody could blow just doing them. All praises due to Allah. Peace, Almighty. Anybody else? Yes.
Yeah, so when you went up there, you found this world that you go into. Could you talk a little bit about any changes that you were able to sort of observe, or how it affected like what you were doing by putting the frame around what you were looking at?
Basically, man, the streets of my studio, I don't use a flash, and I have memorized where the light sources are coming out of the storefronts and the street lights. So I've been able to identify where public phones were that aren't there anymore. You know what I mean? I can notice those small changes. A store that was opened, that closed, I can notice that change. You know what I mean? Because I was dependent on that store for light. So, you know, also certain people, I made a few films before this in the same area. One, Urban Rashomon, two, Antonyms of Beauty. Both of those deal with Frenchie primarily. He's the main character in both of them. And those are short films, both under 30 minutes. But there's people that I don't see anymore. And the basics to it is, if you're homeless and you're drinking a bottle of beer and it's not contained or whatever, you know, and the cops give you a citation for that, and you're homeless, you take the citation, you put it in your pocket, you're gonna lose it. Now, the next time the cops stop you for something, there's a warrant issued for your arrest because you didn't show up to court. So now they have grounds to arrest you. So I've seen brothers get fucking taken straight off of the block based on not even really being criminals, but just not answering the summons. You know what I mean? And I've seen people come back from that too.
Do you feel that the four edges of the frame combined with the aesthetic that you choose to use, f1.2, or do you feel that it affects things in a certain way, that there's a disparity between that and the reality that you deal with? And how does that make you feel, like, emotionally?
You know, photography is operating on limitations. You know what I mean? If I were to take a picture of you with a 50mm right now, it would show you, but it wouldn't show everybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the context changes. You know what I mean? By nature, it's always going to be a subjective art form. And that, I can't change. Nobody can change that. So it's just a matter of embracing that subjectivity, but knowing what you want to say. You know what I mean? And, you know, that's the best way I can say that. You know what I'm saying? I shoot stuff in high contrast because that disparity that you're talking about is real. You know what I mean? I'm shooting expensive equipment. I got $2,000 worth of equipment on me. But I'm around the impoverished. That's a contrast, you know what I mean? I'm paying X amount of money for film stock, but I'm using it on people who can't even buy themselves a new pair of shoes, you know what I mean? So that's another contrast, and you know, I play on that, you know what I mean? Thanks. Go ahead. ahead, bro.
Do you think it was a $2,000 equipment that made us feel like we were actually there?
If I had shot this with an iPhone, it'd be a big difference, you know what I'm saying? And I think that the equipment dignifies the people. You know what I mean? It says that they're worthy of that. You know what I mean? Listen, I don't consider any of these people bums. You feel me? There's a lot of photographers that go around shooting people, you know what I'm saying, cracked out and all of that, and it's just like, that's it. They're a bum, this is a picture of a bum, and that's the end of the story. With me, I have to elaborate and go beyond that and make a film like Field Niggas to let you know that being poor is a small part of what they are in reality. You're hearing spiritual knowledge from these people. And how many of us would just walk past them? Not to guilt anybody, but how many of us would just walk past them? You know what I'm saying? There was a brother I met here tonight that said that he seen me on 125th in Lexington taking pictures of people and was like, yo, this nigga's exploiting people. And then 2 weeks later, he seen the film online. I was like, yo, that's the same person. And it gave him a whole different perspective on me. You know what I mean? So it goes to show you that all judgment is meaningless. Anybody else? Yes.
You brought up the beauty of every single person that you showed, and it was just like their sweat, their tears, their cuts, but everything just looked so beautiful.
Yes. That comes from a heightened vision. I mean, when you think about water, you know what I'm saying, in a puddle on the ground in New York City, it's full of dust, debris, garbage, and so on, but as it evaporates, you know, evaporation separates the debris from the water, and the water becomes purer and purer and purer as it elevates through evaporation. So if you start to see things from a higher perspective, from a spiritual perspective, everything is beautiful.
Damn, Bill, God.
Yeah. So, you know, listen, you know, I'm not religious, but yet I pray. Because God himself isn't religious. That's a man-made institution to kind of like bind people into an economical, you know, fear-based system, you know what I mean? But God wants you to know him as yourself. And to do that is to recognize that, yo, nothing can touch you. Nothing in here, you're invulnerable. Totally invulnerable. You know what I mean? People have cursed me out 1 week, you know what I'm saying, threatening my life even. The next week I'm taking their picture. You know what I mean? And that comes from all from a different perspective. I don't say how do I see this, I say how does God see this. You know what I mean? And, you know, the sun shines on a poor man, you know what I'm saying? And it's the same way it shines on a rich man. You know what I'm saying? It rains on a poor man just like it rains on a rich man. So we're all equal. You know what I mean? We're just born. Yes?
Now, do you have any plans for the future? Now, you stepped outside with, you know, going to Jamaica. Do you have any plans to shoot anywhere else in the future?
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, right now I don't have those plans, but like I said to the earlier question, you know, I'm just a vehicle, you know what I'm saying, for the Most High to express himself through, just as all of us are. You know what I mean? And I kind of just wait on that. I prepare myself to a degree, you know what I mean, gaining skills and so on and so forth, but I'll know when I know. I follow my inner guidance, you know what I mean? All of us have an inner guide that's really in us, you know what I'm saying, literally, you know what I'm saying, in our mind. And we have a lot of chatter, mental noise, which kind of distracts us from hearing that voice. But that's why prayer is important. Sometimes my prayers are silent. For a while even, just to kind of hear what I should do. And it may not come immediately, you know what I mean? Patience is powerful, you know what I mean? That's all. I don't know what I'm going to do, man, you know what I'm saying? But it's going to be crazy. Word.
Blessings. We all got faith in you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yo, peace.